Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaeli Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's Kaeli here, and you are tuning into episode number 225. I have a little bit off the beaten path episode for you because I had a little incident that happened and I want to talk about it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may, or honestly probably may not have noticed that I was off the grid for a bit because, well, Meta shut down my Instagram account because I, quote unquote, violated community guidelines. And still to this moment, I'm not quite sure if it was Meta or it was some sort of a hacker or somebody. Something happened. I don't know. The inner workings of all of that is still out for the jury. I have no clue what's going on. So now listen, for many of us in aesthetics, Instagram is our primary platform for marketing, for gaining visibility and building trust with our clients. So I thought it would be worthwhile to share a little bit about my experience and thoughts on how I am going to protect my content and brand going forward if this ever does happen again. So here's a little background on what happened. I basically received an email from Instagram saying that my account had been suspended because it violated community guidelines, and I'd have one opportunity to request an appeal. And if it was not approved, then I would lose my page for good. And listen, I show zero risque body parts and basically talk zero politics. So I have no idea what the issue was. There was zero warning or information about what I did wrong, which is so frustrating. I don't know which post had been in violation. I don't know. A lot of people told me potentially a competitor turned me in. Apparently, there's a bot that crawls around looking for inappropriate content. So I have no idea. So my social media team connected with a contact at Meta that they had worked with in the past. Shout out to Shannon Bukhar at Social RX, by the way, who basically resolved all of this for me. She talked to somebody and they said, listen, it's going to remedy itself in a day or two. Don't worry about it. If you don't hear anything in the next 2 days, then I would worry. So sure enough, a week goes by and ultimately someone who knew someone else, let's just put it that way, was able to reinstate my account. I'll leave that there. But a lot of lessons were learned through this process. And if you're someone who puts a lot of content out on Instagram and actually converts business through this medium, I hope that these lessons can help you best prepare your business to thrive with or without Instagram or any other social media platform. At the end of the day, we need to remember that these social media platforms are not our owned property. And so we need to have a really intentional plan in place to protect our IP and convert our followers into our own subscribers and clients. So here are the top few lessons I learned. So first of all, one is to focus on conversions to your email list. When this all went down, we were still able to market to thousands of contacts on our KLC email list because we have for years used our content on social media to drive traffic to our weekly newsletter, The Blueprint. And there are several advantages to this. Once we have leads on our email list, we can direct market to them. Alternatively, we never know who sees our posts or how engaged our followers actually are, meaning we could have people who follow us but don't actually know even really who we are, what we do, or have any intention of doing business with us. So our email list, on the other hand, gives us the ability to track opens and clicks, to deliver direct, valuable content every week, and to segment our database. So we're marketing targeted campaigns to prospects with certain identified pain points. And most importantly, we own that data, not a third party. So I'll also say to this that this sort of inspired me to even outside of our email marketing system, export a monthly report, just sort of have an export file so that if something ever did happen to that, we would still have access to our own emails. And I would recommend too for you, one, if you're not collecting emails in your EMR or your CRM, do it. And secondly, if you're not exporting from those platforms, to do that. Okay. The next learning lesson was to have an omnipresence. So while most marketers recommend having a single platform strategy to start, which I do agree with, once you've got the system down, I recommend to quickly build a multi-channel strategy. I was able to continue pushing content through LinkedIn and Facebook, so our company was able to maintain visibility while Instagram was down. And by the way, PS, I chose these channels because this is where most of our B2B sales occur versus like a TikTok or a Pinterest as an example. That might be more your speed selling B2C. At the end of the day, it comes down to being present where your audience is, and having a podcast obviously helps tremendously. So I can just talk about it here. The next lesson is to archive your content. So in my company, we have a system of queuing posts through a project management tool called Trello. We're able to conceptualize and plan for the posts. So all of the content is stored and filed away. And this helps with repurposing content and protects us if we need to reuse any down the road. That was one thing that came to mind immediately. It was like, oh my gosh, all those hundreds of thousands of hours of creating video, graphics, and just copy. Like for me, it's the copy. I write so much copy and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was freaking out, but we had that saved. So that was helpful. The next thing is just check your ego, check my ego. So the first thing that came to mind, of course, when my Instagram went down was like, oh my gosh, I've lost all my followers. But the truth is, followers don't really matter at the end of the day. It feels good. It's a number I get to watch grow and get a little hit of dopamine. It maybe makes me look more legit or more established. But at the end of the day, customers choose to work with us because we produce results and our clients tell other people about us. So I had to keep reminding myself of that. A lot of people reached out asking where I had been. So that made me feel good that the content I create brings some kind of value. So that was a big ego boost. And the next thing was interesting. And that was that a fresh start could be refreshing. There's something really inspiring about the idea of starting from scratch. It was a strange feeling I had that, I don't know, I'm sure that's what a big rebrand feels like. I thought a lot about what the new me would look like. And to be honest, I loved the exercise, imagining a you that doesn't have a reputation or a style or a preconceived image. Who would I be? And it was kind of fun. I was nervous about it, but then I was also like, you know what? I will reinvent myself. So I think there's just a lot of freedom in the idea that you get to rebuild your brand from a blank canvas, and that I was excited about. And then my final thoughts are just around the information economy and specifically Meta. And people tell me all the time that they have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. And to be honest, I got back my account and I had a slew of messages from people asking for links and information about our programs. And it reminded me how vital the platform is for us as a company. But the way it all went down was someone offered to bring my account back for $3,500. And ultimately, I refused because I literally could not stomach the idea that there are people in North Carolina who are homeless. There are children being trafficked across borders. Kids are hungry. Truly, the greed in our society is so sickening, and we all just need to step it up and do better. And I could think of 100 ways to productively spend $3,500 that creates good in the world. And I became frustrated with that thought. Like I was getting angry. And strangely, at the same time, I also wrestled with the challenge that $3,500 could unlock access to an 8-year-long journey of building trust with an audience who would help me then create 100 times that impact. So it's tough. But at the end of the day, I couldn't bring myself to play into that superficial game. And then I started to think like, well, what if they close down my account again in a month? Ugh, frustrates me just thinking about it, honestly. But anyway, I thought I would just share these thoughts. Hopefully these few ideas will help you think about, one, that it's a reality. It can happen to anybody, and how to prepare for and to prepare if and truly when Instagram and other social media platforms ultimately go bye-bye, because they will. And we all will need to rely on the good old-fashioned way of doing business. And the thing I missed the most was just seeing what my friends were up to, sharing memes and funny stories, like funny things happened. And I was like, I can't even take a picture or share this video and make someone's day or help make someone laugh or laugh with me. So that was a bummer. So there's some upside to having that channel. So anyway, okay. Well, that's all for today. I'll chat with you next week, leader. Listen, leader, if you're vibing with me here, hang tight, because I have a brand new resource for you. You are a successful, confident, powerful woman who just isn't into being average. No, you have a calling, and part of that calling is requiring you to level up. And I know that if you're working across the next $1 million milestone in your business, you need to be in the right circles. And perhaps that's why you found us. I'd love to invite you to join The Blueprint, a weekly resource for inspired, provocative thinkers who are taking this conversation to the next level. Get access to free business tools, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me and my expert team. And of course, a masterfully curated circle of women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to kaelcconsultants.com/blueprint. It's time to elevate. See you there, goddess.